Well, it's going to be 2 in, 1 out because the West Virginia Mountaineers are getting more bad news, unfortunately. It never stops, man. It's like if I had a voodoo doll, I'd hold it up and poke it because that's what it feels like. It feels like somebody is put a voodoo curse on this West Virginia Mountaineer basketball program. And what we're talking about, guys, is Jesse Edwards, Mountaineer center, is now out for at least 4 weeks with wrist surgery. Paul, take it away, man.
Sucks, doesn't it? 2 steps forward, 1 step back, literally. So do you want me to take it in a positive direction or a negative one? Because I can do either. I'll take it in a positive direction. How about that?
Yeah, before we do that, first off, guys, welcome to a live edition of Hoops from the Hills. We forgot to do that.
Yep.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Obviously, this was unplanned because we didn't expect this news to come out today. So we appreciate you guys hanging in there. And let's give a quick shout out to our sponsor before we get too deep into the weeds here. Go ahead, Paul.
This episode of Hoops from the Hills is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time.
With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for.
Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com, or you can come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you.
All right, so take it away. Now give us the positive first and then the negative.
Well, I think this could benefit West Virginia in the long run if this team's able to put a run together. I really like this team with 3 guards on the floor. I really, truly do. I think if you can get some combination of Kerr Kriisa and Noah, or Rae'Quan, or possibly all 3, or Kobe with 2 of them guys, any combination of those 4 guys, right? And Slazinski on the floor at the same time, and even a Cook who can stroke it a little bit. You're talking about 4 or 5 guys on the floor all at once that can shoot the rock.
Mm-hmm.
And while it may not be what we're used to, it may not be what we expected, it may not be what Huggins would have done, I think this could be an elite offensive team still. I really do. Rae'Quan Battle hasn't hit the floor yet. You guys saw what Noah Farrakhan could do last game, and he'd been out forever, and this wasn't even planned for him to play, and he dropped 14 and 5. And you saw the talent level. It raises a level with him, right? He's obviously better than what we've been playing with. Rae'Quan's even a step above. So, or they're right there with each other. So you add those 2 dynamic scorers that can penetrate on the floor all at once, and it only takes a little while for that chemistry to click. 2 or 3 games, guys, I'm telling you, these guys will start clicking a little bit, and you're going to see ball movement like your head's going to be spinning, and Slazinski and those guys are going to be draining threes. Every single one of those guys can shoot the rock. So I'm actually kind of excited, to be honest with you. Don't want to wish an injury on Jesse at all. I just think it's going to give the time for these guards, all these new guards, to really get acclimated and not having to worry about feeding him the rock every time. And to be honest, that's not his game anyway. He's just not used to it, as you can tell. He's always been a pick and roll cleanup guy, and they've turned him into a Devin Williams, and it's just not something he's used to doing yet. Anyway, the negative, obviously, you lose all the rim protection, and he's one of the league leaders in the Big 12 in blocks, and just the rebounding aspect of it is very important, obviously. I just think that he was really starting to come around, though, as a scorer. He was finally starting to figure some things out, I thought, from a low post standpoint, what not to do and what to do. And the thing is this team is eventually going to have to figure it out with him on the floor. So even though they're going to be able to figure out without him, it could be one of those situations. This truly could happen. This team could get really, really good for the next 3 games, and then people are going to be wondering, will he mess up the chemistry? And that's a possibility I want everybody to be prepared for, which some people would look at me and laugh if I say that because this is the number 4 overall player in the portal. But it does happen. And he just, to me, fits a little oddly with this team, the way it's constructed right now, because he's such a. If it wasn't for him, this team could really run. I mean, honestly, he could. He's just not meant to be a up tempo, run the floor type of player. So I think with the Cook on the floor, if he gets himself back in shape, this could really look like a fun team to watch. But overall, if I had my druthers, obviously, I would keep Jesse Edwards on this team and on the floor with them. Mm-hmm. I just think it's going to be a different style of ball.
Let's look back at the game. And John, to answer your question, he didn't play because he had flu-like symptoms. They think he had food poisoning. He got sick the day after he testified in court in the transfer case. He got sick that day. Coach Allert said he slept for 12 or 14 hours afterward, missed the next day of practice, was better on Friday, and then Saturday he started feeling sick again, and he didn't want to put him out there. So that's basically it. But when you look at that game on Saturday, Jesse was struggling early in that game, even before he hurt his wrist. They made their comeback without him on the court. Because, like you mentioned, I'm glad you mentioned the running part. A Cook runs the floor extremely well. And I think this might be a hot take, but I think this team may actually be better with a Cook as the 5 instead of Jesse. Potentially. I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen, but I think it has the potential because of the style that they can play. Now, they're going to miss Jesse rebounding the ball. He's a much better rebounder than a Cook is. But when you look at, I mean, neither guy's very big as far as their, bulkiness. They both have a tendency to get pushed around by bigger guys underneath. But when you look at the style of play that wins championships at the college level, it's teams who are really good at the guard position with decent to good big man play. And I think we can still get that with this combination of guys with Battle and Krisa and Farrakhan, that kind of thing. So even though it's a loss, I don't think we'll take as big a step back as people may think, I guess would be the best way to put it. We may not be better. That might have been too strong, but I don't think we'll take a step back as far as people think. Do you think that's a fair statement?
Yeah, that's a fair statement. Unfortunately, we don't have anybody else that can rebound. The problem.
Yeah.
So.
Mark, we thank you for the $2 super chat, man. He says, ball movement, agree. 16 gets invite. Worried a lot. We appreciate the support, Mark. But yeah, I mean, it's going to have to become a guard dominant team, man. That's all there is to it. And they're going to have to make shots, number one, because they can't rely on rebounding. But they're going to have to box out well on the defensive end to not let guys get to hit the offensive glass, and they're going to have to just play really good defense, hopefully force some turnovers. But let's face it, they've not been doing that lately. So anyway, I don't know, man. I'm concerned, but at the same time, I'm not concerned, I guess is a fair way to put it. I'm more concerned about the lack of depth at that position than I am Jesse being out, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Mark, thank you again for another super chat. He says, Jesse got bullied. Hope you are right. And I'm not sitting here trying to say Jesse's not a good player, but while Paul was talking there, he made a lot of sense because, like he said, running the floor, which is what Josh wants to do. I think a Cook's better at that than Jesse is. So, I mean, I think he showed that in that game on Saturday. So now we'll miss a Cook's not going to score the ball inside as well as Jesse does, but that's really not Jesse's strength either, like Paul's mentioned. So now he was getting better at it, but when he faced guys who were bigger than him, he struggled.
He's gotten whooped on a couple times this
Yeah,
year, and that UMass big ate him for lunch down the road the other day.
yeah,
Let's just call it what it is. Jesse's a great individual player. He does a lot of good things for the team that are great. And this feels like piling on a kid that just got injured, but I just think stylistically, so far this year, it really has. He's not won us any game. He hasn't really lost us any, but I think Quinn Slazinski's been the engine that drives this thing so far. Now that Kerr's back and everything, maybe that'll all change, which we saw it change a little bit the other day. But um, I don't know. Maybe let's just let them get some chemistry going, and then you can add Jesse to the mix, and we'll see what happens. It's a lot easier to add him to it than to add two guards to it with him needing to be on the floor.
right.
We're going to lose a lot with him gone, absolutely. The rebounding and the shot blocking aspect of it. Excuse me. But I don't know. It's kind of a trade-off at this point. So kind of segues a little bit into what we want to talk about with the guards, right? I mean, they're basically here to stay now, which we haven't really gotten into yet.
Right. Yeah. Real quick, I'll read the official announcement from WVU Sports. It says, this was put out by Brian Messley, who's the head of communications for WVU basketball. He says, West Virginia University fifth-year senior Jesse Edwards will miss approximately 4 weeks due to a fractured right wrist. Men's basketball coach Josh Allard announced today Edwards will have surgery this week. Edwards is averaging 14.8 points and 8.7 rebounds per game, starting all 10 contests at center. Now, but
It's
like Paul was,
basically what he's averaged for his career.
Yeah, it is. And he's almost a double-double guy. So it's not fair for you and I to sit here and talk like he's not a good player. I just don't, like you said,
it's a fit thing.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, for instance, let's take the offensive lines that Dana Holgerson had and put them on the squad from last year that wanted to run the ball every play. Wouldn't work because those guys were smaller, more athletic offensive linemen that were more pass pro heavy. And the guys we had last year were great at both, but especially run heavy. And they're two different kinds of players. If you try to take, not every guy, but some of the guys that played in Dana's offenses, while they're really good players for that, it's the same in every kind of facet of every kind of program, whether it's football, basketball. You recruit your type of players for your system. And I think, Jesse's, to me, is just a little bit of an odd fit for everything else they have. It's not like, in the past when we've had bigs, there's always been another big to complement that guy that's similar to him so that they can lock down both sides of the lane and control both opposite ends of the rim and rebound and really crash the boards. But this team doesn't want to crash the boards, including Jesse half sometimes. He's literally had to learn a lot of things that you thought he would already have learned. But at Syracuse, they do things so walkily. It's almost like trying to get a guy who's run the triple option his whole career to come play single man defense. Or to play. We're trying to play spread offense, right?
Yeah.
If this guy's played in the zone his whole career, now he's trying to guard guys face up, and you can see he struggled with it. And the same thing on the opposite end. They've never asked him to score it down low a bunch. So it's kind of like we're growing with his growing pains at the same time too, because it's kind of different than what he's had to do.
Yeah. Matthew put a comment up. He says, by the way, I'm glad the judge signed off on that order today. So Rae'Quan and Noah are officially free, which segues perfectly into what we're going to talk about next. I will share a tweet from Ethan Bach, a good friend of the show. He reposted one by Mitt Winter, who's with Winter Sports Law. He says, The temporary restraining order preventing the NCAA from enforcing its multi-time transfer rule has been converted into a preliminary injunction until a final decision on the merits. The NCAA cannot enforce the rule and can't retaliate against an athlete that plays in reliance on the PI, and they cannot punish the school. And attached to that was Patrick Morrissey's tweet, which said, make sure it was showing on the screen there. It says, our preliminary victory is now official. The judge has signed the order ensuring that Rae'Quan Battle, Noah Farrakhan, and all athletes impacted by the temporary restraining order issued last week will be able to play basketball without fear of repercussions through the end of the season. The incredible win for Rae'Quan, Noah, and all impacted athletes is greatly appreciated. Special thanks to Dave Yost, Ohio, our bipartisan coalition of states, and Rocky Gianola, who represented Rae'Quan. Our case will continue, but at least our athletes will be able to play with peace of mind. So that's the announcement. So now Rae'Quan and Noah, we kind of knew it was coming last Friday, but it became official today when the judge officially signed the preliminary injunction, making the temporary restraining order that was good for 14 days now good through the remainder of the basketball season, and it will not impact eligibility for guys. They won't lose their year of eligibility. I mean, basically, if the rule does happen to get reversed, the guys will not lose their year of eligibility. So
it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. I think it was just a formality at this point anyway, but still it's good that there's pen to paper now by the judge.
Absolutely. 100% agree, man. And really, you look at it, we're adding 2 elite scoring guards to this lineup. They're really elite players. I don't know how we're not going to get better. I mean, obviously, that was a preliminary thing. UMass was better than I thought they were. That was number 1 the other night.
Yeah.
Should have known better with the Frank Martin team.
And they had a career night shooting the ball like every other team we play.
Yeah. And we're really behind the 8 ball in a lot of this as far as team chemistry goes as a team. I mean, practicing together, you can practice against each other all day long, but it just don't matter until you play the game. So I think, these next couple games are going to be vitally important. They've got to get above 500 going to league play, and we'll see where it goes. I think this team can be dangerous. I still believe that. We've never had this much guard talent on a team ever since Bob Huggins was here. It's always been defensive oriented and turnover oriented kind of players. We've never had these pure scoring kind of guards like this. So it's going to be fun to watch. I'm going to enjoy watching it, no matter what our record is. And I'm pulling for Ray, Kerr, Noah, Slaz, all the guys. I really am, And I think this could be the first time that we make sure if Kobe doesn't start again, maybe the first time. It might be all new players starting next game.
Potentially.
For the first time. So, because I'd be really, I don't know how you keep Noah Farrakhan out of the starting lineup after that performance the first game back. 14 points. He's obviously one of the better players.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about, he and Rae'Quan basically play the same position. So maybe they need one to sub for the other one. I don't know. But again,
that's possible. I think
they're going to have to play guard heavy anyway because of the lack of depth at the big. So
yeah, well, you might as well have all of them on the floor at the same time. Is how I look at it. Now I get that it's going to hurt you when you sub players in. I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to make the choice.
Yeah, me too.
But all those guys on the floor at the same time would be incredibly hard to guard. That's what I know.
Yep.
But
absolutely,
I guess you need to save some for the bench. It's hard to say.
Yeah, Noah definitely played a heck of a game. There's no doubt about it. Tyler says, "I hate to play negative Nancy, but if we are if we are to lose any more games in non-conference, we can kiss playoff hopes goodbye. With Battle and Noah, I think we can beat some Big 12 teams, but still, I mean, yeah, we basically can't lose more than 4 or 5 more games the rest of the season in order if we want to make the tournament, something like that." So it's going to be an uphill battle for sure. I don't expect this team to make the NCAA tournament. They might surprise me, but Big 12 is going to be so tough. I just don't see. I just don't see. Even if this team was full strength, with everybody playing since the game one together, I'm not sure we go through the Big 12 with that kind of record. Because the Big 12 is just that good. So imagine how hard it's going to be now with Jesse being out, for 4 weeks. Cook's just now getting back into game shape, and the rest of the guys are still trying to build chemistry together. So it's going to be tough.
Yeah, definitely is.
Well, Paul, is there anything else on this topic you want to talk about?
Nope, I sure don't, brother. I'm glad we could update everybody, and appreciate everybody for stopping in. I've actually got maintenance ready to come to my house, so
Right.
I appreciate
Curtis,
you for cutting it short.
Yeah, man, no problem. That is a great point, Curtis. They do have the Big 12 tournament. They can get you win that, you get an automatic bid.
Right. I thought about that.
All hope is not lost, but it's getting very thin. Put it that way. But I'm going to support the team. I'm going to watch every game that almost every game anyway that I can. And I'm going to root these guys on, man, and hope for the best and support them the best I can, regardless. Well, guys, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff that we always ask you to do. Let people know about Hoops from the Hills. We're still trying to get that sub count up. We're still a fairly young channel compared to all others. But let people know we are the go-to basketball channel for West Virginia hoops. And as far as I know, we're the only channel who focuses exclusively on West Virginia basketball. So tell your friends about us. Tell your fellow West Virginia fans about us. And subscribe, like, comment. We thank you again. Thanks again for our sponsor, Dutch Miller Automotive. Go to DutchMillerAuto.com when you're in the market for your next vehicle. With all that being said, we're done.